Across America, BP supports more than 300,000 jobs to keep our energy flowing. Jobs like expanding our biodiesel capacity in Washington state and reducing operational emissions in the Gulf of Mexico. It's and, not or. See what doing both means for energy nationwide at bp.com/investing in America.
For 25 years, Brightview Senior Living has been dedicated to creating an award-winning company culture so residents and families receive best-in-class services. Across our 50 communities, Brightview associates help deliver peace of mind, safety, security, transportation, daily programs, delicious food, and high-quality care if needed. Discover how our vibrant senior living communities can help you live your best life. Visit brightviewseniorliving.com to learn more. Equal housing opportunity.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single line 1, 5, and 10 gig data plans with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plans offered by T-Mobile and Verizon January 2024.
Hi everyone, it's Amanda Rieger Green. Welcome to Soul Sessions. We are in the middle of June, really closer to the last part of June, but we've got the solstice. We have a full moon after that. Saturn is standing still in the sky, about to retrograde. So is Neptune, and they're both in Pisces in significant degrees. So it's murky, and it can feel unsettling and a little bit delusional or divisive. And when I say divisive, that has more of a heavier, darker connotation. But delusional, divisive, meaning your mind playing tricks on you, not seeing reality for what it is, being clouded by emotions rather than effectively utilizing your discernment, interconnecting your logic and reason with your feeling body to speak from your place of wisdom. If you're feeling off kilter, if you can't quite find the beat or the step, it's kind of like when you're dancing and you're dancing with a partner who it's like you're stepping on each other's feet or you can't figure out who's leading. That's a little bit what the energy feels like right now. It's having a dance partner. And it's funny because the dance partner is you. It's you're coming into a different balance or alignment. And the main theme that has come up, and it resonates with me deeply, is something is being activated within us that is unresolved. Deep karmic challenges, fears, wounding, suffering, dis-ease that is truly saying, what is not resolved within me that if I were to courageously face, to look in the eye, to identify, would give me release, would give me more freedom, clarity, and then also the courage to do the healing work. And if you remember back to the beginning of the month when I talked about June, one of the things I was pretty emphatic about was if you've been hesitant around making a change in your life, a big decision, and whether it is around a relationship, your health, your work, your home and family, anything that seems to be looming large, that you're like, oh, I'll just do it later. No, I'm going to be fine. No, I can figure this out. This self-will that's like, I'm determined to control this. It's going to have a better outcome. It's kind of like insanity, and Einstein's definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Anything that you can look at, a pattern that is creating an insanity loop, a loop that is not busting you free. And we're in a 5-month in numerology, which is all about freedom and adventure. And it's about change and dynamic change at that. Anything that is keeping you kind of walking in circles, feeling like you're aimless, or directionless, or you're dancing with the dance partner and it's just offbeat, off step. Those are the feelings, the deep-seated energies triggering you into awareness of something that is unresolved. So I would certainly recommend that you spend a little bit of time, and I'm going to outline the solstice and the full moon that follows that directly because they're poignant. We're at a turning point in the year. It's like there's no going back. And many of us can feel this discomfort and feeling like we're walking around in a fog or with a blindfold, feeling our way through. And when we feel our way through things, like if you think about literally walking around with a blindfold, you can't run. You have to walk mindfully and discerningly a step at a time, or maybe you grab for help or you feel what's around you. If you lose that ability or that perception, you have to fine-tune other sensory abilities. And that's what it feels like in the collective, personally and universally, that we're fine-tuning senses we have not used. It makes me think of an oracle card in the first deck I ever got. It's the desert card, the dry desert. And the message in that card is, it's time to adapt. Because what it signifies is you're not in a barren time. This woman is walking through the desert in the hot sun and it's very barren and you don't see a mirage out in the distance. You see no water. But the message essentially says, think about the animals in the desert. They have adapted to survive. So lizards or scorpions or creatures that live in the desert, they know how to burrow themselves. They can go extended periods without water. They may have exoskeletons, certain things and features they've done to be able not only to survive in the desert, but it's their landscape that they've learned to thrive there. That's what the collective and our consciousness and the second half of this year feels like. What skills are you adapting, not only to survive? And right now, I will say feels a bit more like survival mode, and what it's triggering for many, and me included, is this element of escapism. And that's mirrored in the astrology, so it makes sense and gives me a little bit of like, okay, I'm just feeling the universal energies. and mainly that is because Saturn has been standing still in the sky all month at 19 degrees of Pisces. Saturn is transiting through Pisces. Saturn is about maturity, responsibility, infrastructure, and organization, getting everything lined out and showing up and taking action. And Pisces is about spirituality, it's watery, it's about dissolving things. So it's not like the path is clear, but it's about leaning into our intuition, and it's about doing it consistently and responsibly, listening to our inner voice, our inner guidance, and trusting ourselves, recognizing our sovereignty. And there are so many themes echoing in and around us in that category this month in particular, which I find so pivotal. Neptune is also standing still in the sky, and it's about to move retrograde, and it's at 29 degrees of Pisces. So we've got Neptune in Pisces and Saturn in Pisces, and both of them are about to retrograde. Saturn retrogrades at the end of June on the 29th, and Neptune officially retrogrades on July 2nd. So they're both standing still. They're both standing still in Pisces, and they're both heavy hitters. I mean, if you think about your Saturn return, Saturn is about maturity and cycles. Neptune is about oneness and consciousness and tapping into the unseen realms. It creates a tremendous amount of confusion and haze and cloudiness. So having both of these heavy hitters, let's call it, punctuating our skies, punctuating our consciousness, our psychology, it trickles down into our daily lives and into our internal health and well-being. And it can be a real cluster in the mind. It can be a real trip of, is this real? Is this perceived? Can I shift my perspective? Do I want to shift my perspective? There's a lot of internal discussion going on. and it can feel very exhaustive because it's like the clarity, the wisdom that you're reaching for or searching for, or even so desperate to realize or recognize, can feel not just out of reach, but you don't even know which direction to reach for it in. It's like, I think about when I was going from 8th grade to high school, we went on an 8th grade retreat, and we went to this ranch out in Texas. So our whole class, they bussed us from Louisiana to Texas to this ranch, and we camped and did a lot of things. It was like a bonding thing before we all went to high school. And I went to a pretty small high school, so we were pretty tight-knit. But it was a bonding thing before we moved into high school. And it was a great thing that we did and a cool idea. But I do remember we had an orienteering course, and they broke us up into teams. And then they gave us like a sack of resources. We had a compass, we had our water, we had some tools and things. I can't even remember all the details of it. But I do know they took each of the groups and they dropped us off somewhere on this ranch, and we had a set amount of time to find our way back. It was a team building thing, and also using our maps, using our compasses, looking at the land, following our intuition. And it almost feels like, and I haven't thought about this in a long time, but it just came to mind as I'm sharing this with you, it's almost like we've been dropped in a new land. And it can maybe even feel like you've been dropped in a new land or an unfamiliar land, and you don't have your compass or your tools or your resources. So you're being asked to dig deep, to really develop your inner resources. And I think about the internet, and it's like, okay, we're bombarded with the internet and all of these dopamine hits and things we get addicted to, or false beliefs. And I don't need to go into the whole discussion about the internet and social media. You all know. But it's like we're asked right now to develop our internet. So we've got the internet, but can you come back in and listen to your internet, your inner connection? Because what I find fascinating, and I've had all these interestingly multidimensional and prophetic dreams as of late, and some of them I remember clearly, some of them are very muffled. I can just remember the emotions and the energies and minor details. But it's a lot of multidimensional timeline jumping and what I would call bleed through of energy in the multiverse and various timelines. But what's really interesting is it feels like something is coming into greater resonance within me and within my sovereignty and clarity, yet I can't quite put the puzzle together, or I can't crack the code. And I've shared this before, and it's becoming acutely obvious, is there's something evolving in our extrasensory abilities, and tricks or tools or ways in which I might read intuitively, they're shifting. And I'm having to fine-tune my skills. We are having to almost reorient and redefine how we communicate or recognize our intuition. So things that might have worked, different signs, synchronicities, you may be falling flat. I've had a lot of clients and people who I've talked to recently, they're just having a hard time finding their spiritual momentum and mojo. And these are dedicated seekers who usually are pretty tuned in and turned on and able to find the lesson in the challenge or see clearly the direction forward. And it's like, I just keep asking for a sign and I'm not seeing it. I can't hear it, or I can't grasp it, or I can't interpret the meaning, or it's not resonating. And if you're experiencing this, instead of giving up, it's more like suit up and say, okay, how do I start reading differently? And what is happening with this is I feel like we are developing our telepathic skills. And it's easy to focus on all the clairs, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, claircognizance, because those are kind of the go-tos. I feel like those are secondary right now. Telepathy, to me, is what is really being fine-tuned. And I want you to think about it this way. if you remember radios, okay? So depending on when you were born, I very clearly remember changing the radio station in the car, and not just with a digital tuner, like, with the knob, changing the radio station. But think about when you change the radio station from 96.7 to 100.3 or whatever it is, right? Like you have to kind of tune it and get it just right. Like if you were on the knob, not so much the digital thing that gave you the exact coordinates. Like you remember, you just had to kind of fine tune it until boom, you hit the frequency. And it's like, oh, it's coming through loud and clear. It's like the antennas on the TV. If you remember when we had antennas on the TV and you sometimes just had to get them just right in order for it not to be staticky. Okay, that's what's going on right now. And here is what's interesting about it is think about when, you've gone on a road trip or been in the car and you're listening to your favorite radio station, and then about, an hour and a half, 2 hours out, the radio station starts getting scratchy and you're like, oh shoot, I'm losing the radio station. And then you can hear remnants of that radio station, the song that's playing, and then all of a sudden you hear a DJ's voice from another radio station cutting in. And it's like two different frequencies, two different channels trying to communicate. The way I just described that is what I would call bleed through in the multiverse, bleed through in timelines. And what we're being asked to do right now is fine tune our dial so the signal is clear. And what it can feel like is you're hearing different voices. There's interruption. There's static in the radio waves. You've got two channels speaking over each other at once. So nothing feels clear. It feels loud and confusing. That's why going within, getting still. And I put out a newsletter just a few days ago, and one of the things that came through so clearly was get still and move your body. And the reasoning for that is in fine-tuning your antenna, your listening device, your sovereignty, your clarity, your extrasensory skills that are developing that are going to be necessary in the years ahead. This year is about to amp up like nobody's business. And if the cotton isn't out of your ears and you don't really know how to go within, get still, listen to your truth, and then act accordingly, you'll feel the anxiety, the despair, the depression, the jarring energies more acutely. So in order to really temper that, it is imperative to find your stillness and then also move things, move old energy out of your body. And it's funny because I can find my stillness in movement. When I'm driving in the car and I turn the music up and I'm like dancing, it's like I'm finding a rhythm. I'm fine-tuning my frequency by listening, being present, moving my body. The other way that you can think about that, and I think there's something to shocking the system, like finding stillness and movement simultaneously. Or if you're in the shower, I do this all the time. I'll wash my hair, do all the things, and then right before I get out of the shower, I will turn that nice warm water to cryo-freezing cold. And I do that, and I won't stand in it for 5 minutes of freezing cold, but I might for 30 seconds or a minute just to shock my system, clear out my cells, solidify my energy. And what is really interesting, and this was brought to my attention by Alberto Villadolo. He's an incredible shaman and psychologist who is from South America, and I've read his books, and I've always found such deep wisdom, but also the science in things. And he speaks it from the language of the shamans, but he's deeply psychological and scientific. And he always talks about the hemispheres of the brain, the different parts of the brain relating to the medicine wheel. He's fascinating. But one of the things he was saying, because I do this all the time, and I've already practiced this, and then it was he articulated it. He essentially said, that moment when you're in the shower and you're going to go from hot to cold and you're doing it to shock your system. But he says you go to reach for the handle and you kind of go, you just kind of hesitate for a minute. It's like this fear is like, oh, I know what's coming. This is going to be shocking, like that hesitation. And he says, can you practice going from hot to cold? And he didn't say just do it, but without the hesitation, like almost this fluid movement of turning around and switching the dial. And I tell you what, that to me is a simple way, yet so practical and accessible to fine-tune your frequency. And it's funny because if I'm taking a bath versus taking a shower, in the shower, I can turn around and turn the knob. And I kind of laugh, and I've retrained the cold to be like, this is comfortable. I do it in my perception, in my dialogue. I'm literally repatterning the brain, because for me, that's also helping with a lot of cognition and consciousness on a physiological level, on a neurological level, with my biology. It's very layered, and it's also with water, which is a conductor and conscientious. It's cleansing. I mean, there's so many things. Water is extremely powerful as an element and also as a psychological element. But I tell you what is funny for me. So if I'm in the bathtub and I'm doing this, I hesitate every darn time. Like I have not mastered that fluid, just do it, shift the water. It's always a buildup. Okay, are you going to do this today, Amanda? You're really enjoying this hot water? Are you really going to sit here in the bathtub? So for some reason, there's something psychological in my mind between the bathtub and the shower. So guess what? I take that as like throw the gauntlet down challenge. I am determined in the next few weeks to have no problem doing a quick shift from hot to cold in both the shower and the bathtub. And while that may sound too simple, or I'm not going to try that, I don't have time for it. Okay, well, don't try it. Don't have time for it. But I just know for me, anything that I can do to access greater cohesion between the hemispheres of my brain, the way that I think and perceive things, that I can become a Jedi in my mind. And that's what's going on. This element of telepathy, which has to do with the Jedi, the Force. May the Force be with you. It doesn't just come. And right now, it's not just coming. It takes building muscles, like you're a Jedi right now. And so what that does for me is I'm very aware of my conscious thoughts most of the darn time. And we have like 1 million unconscious thoughts a day. I am very conscious when I'm in judgment, or I'm in fear, or I'm frustrated in a situation and it is rattling around over and over in my head again. And I'm like, I'm out of alignment. I'm out of cohesion. I'm out of whack, or I'm falling into fear. And while that can sound a bit exhaustive, and it can be, I will not minimize it. It can be exhaustive to be aware, to be spiritually activated and awake. It can feel exhaustive, like, gosh, can't I just be? Yes, you can just be. But there is a big call to action right now. Let's go to the solstice and use some of these energies, because these are pretty significant turning points in the year.
Are you tired of your scented cleaning products smelling and cleaning like meh? Then it's time for an upgrade with the power of Clorox Scentiva. With an uplifting scent that smells like coconut, Clorox Scentiva gives you powerful clean like Clorox, but a feeling like being transported to a tropical island retreat. Imagine putting your phone on Do Not Disturb, tuning out all the constant, just the feeling of warm sand in between your toes and a fruity drink in your hand. The ones with the little umbrella. Refresh your home to feel like an all-inclusive vacation by getting Clorox Scentiva. Also available in grapefruit and lavender scents at a nearby retail store.
MITRE's mission is to solve problems for a safer world. If you have a passion for applied cybersecurity with skills in infrastructure threat intelligence, deterrence technologies, adversarial threat emulation, or intelligence analysis, explore the many challenging and fulfilling career opportunities at mitre.org/careers. That's mitre.org/careers.
With AT&T in-car Wi-Fi, stay connected wherever you go and transform your vehicle into a dependable Wi-Fi hotspot. Powering applications like real-time GPS and voice assistant, navigation becomes a breeze. Even on the practice field, AT&T in-car Wi-Fi keeps you connected while in proximity of your vehicle. Work, stream shows, or finish homework without missing a beat. See if you're eligible for a free trial at att.com/in-car Wi-Fi. Don't let connectivity be a roadblock in your journey. Always pay careful attention to the road and don't drive distracted. Wi-Fi hotspot intended for passenger use when vehicle is in operation. Compatible device and vehicle required.
Let's go to the solstice and use some of these energies, because these are pretty significant turning points in the year. We get a solstice or an equinox every 3 months. And the solstices and the equinoxes, I'm sure you know a bit about this, but just in breaking it down, we're activating cardinal energy. So the cardinal signs in the zodiac are Aries and Libra, Cancer and Capricorn. And if you remember, the north and the south nodes of the moon right now are, the north node is in Aries, the south node is in Libra. So we're in this cardinal season that is about an 18-month season where those nodal axis of the moon, which essentially signify the direction in which consciousness is evolving and the behaviors in which have been familiar in the past are becoming more unfamiliar. So you have Aries and Libra. Aries, the independent, the individual, the courageous, bold pioneer, and the sovereignty of the I am taking action. And I think probably the highest form of Aries is instinct. Living in instinct. I am moving from sheer will and life force and instinct, which is very much fine-tuning your frequency, which is kind of like at its highest aim would be, may the force be with you. Being in the force field, moving with your environment and moving in it naturally and gracefully, like a hunter in the woods, like a wolf. I think about a wolf. Maybe a wolf spirit animal is a good thing to call in. The wolf to me, it stalks its prey, it runs with its pack, it survives. It's also beautiful and fierce. The wolf is the energy that truly comes to mind when I think of Aries. And in Libra, yes, Libra is about balance, harmony, partnership. It is about learning through the other. But most importantly, the question in that cardinal energy that is really triggered in the collective, and I'm bringing this up as a review because it's significant as it relates to these solstices, which the solstice that is coming in the full moon, which is on the Cancer Capricorn axis, which is the other axis. We've got the north-south axis, which is interesting because Aries is the beginning and Libra is down at the southernmost part of the astrological wheel. So north and south are right there. The other two cardinal signs are Cancer and Capricorn, which are east and west. In the medicine wheel, in shamanism, in the quadrants of the year, in the circle or the cycle of the year, the precessional cycle. So with Libra, the most beautiful way I have recognized to interpret this is discarding polite dishonesty. Because Libra goes to balance and harmony, acquiescing, a little bit of people pleasing. I don't want to rock the boat. It's just easier to go with the flow or go with the group instead of speaking up and speaking your truth. And right now is a time for really minimizing polite dishonesty and being bold in your truth. And it doesn't mean being grandstanding or being unkind or bulldozing, but it is saying, no, I'm going to need to set a boundary there, or I'm not available to do that, or delegating, redirecting. So pay attention to that. On the 20th, we have the solstice, which Cancer solstice, the summer solstice, it makes me think of Midsummer Night's Dream and Shakespeare, which is the quintessential summer energy. That's the Cancer solstice. And Cancer is truly about nurture, roots, home, safety, family. It signifies our emotional intelligence, our feeling body. And when I was talking about telepathy and how we feel, it really triggers our nature, our true nature. Who are we on the inside? At my heart, at my core, what do I know? Where do I feel at home in my own skin? And deeper than that, Cancer really signifies the depths of our psychology. So where we are truly happy, what happiness looks like for us. This solstice on the 20th, and the solstice is exact at 3:51 p.m. Central Standard Time. So you do the math in your time zone. That is on the 20th. Anytime there's a full moon, new moon, solstice, you have a planet stationing direct or retrograde, I always look at the time. Of course, I look at the degree, depending on what it is. And the solstice means the sun moves from Gemini to Cancer. And it's this change of direction, change of season for the upcoming 3 months. I've already set an alarm on my phone at 3:50 p.m. It's at 3:51. I set the alarm for a few minutes before that. So no matter what I'm doing, and I happen to not have a client or an appointment I already looked on that day during that time block, I will get still. I will meditate, or I will honor that time and create some sort of ritualistic devotion. So I would encourage you on this solstice, because it feels like an interesting rite of passage, because it is giving us this opportunity to really connect with our true nature and your feeling body, how you're feeling in that moment on that day. And notice the build up to it, and then notice kind of at the crescendo, which would be 3:51 p.m. Central Time, and then what begins to trickle through in the hours following that. The veil is always thin. Indigenous always celebrated the change of season and honored the earth, activated elements within the earth to really interconnect the human and the spiritual. There's like a breakthrough energy that happens there. And it sometimes can feel like something is breaking down or dissolving. But because we have both Saturn and Neptune essentially just hovering in the sky, punctuating in the sky, and they're in Pisces, which is a fellow water sign, because Cancer is a water sign, we have all this psychic energy activated, like highly psychic, telepathic, and it can feel light and illuminating, or it can feel really dark and heavy. It doesn't matter which one it is, but see what you are intuiting, feeling. I would certainly pay attention to your dreams in the days leading up to the solstice and the days after, because the day after the solstice, on June 21st, we have a full moon in Capricorn at 1 degree of Capricorn. And what's pretty cool about this, and I always love it when this happens, because it means, okay, Amanda, buckle down and do your homework, is on the 21st of June, there's a full moon in Capricorn, meaning the moon is in Capricorn, the sun is in its opposite cardinal sign, east to west of Cancer. And then 1 month later, on July 21st, we have another full moon in Capricorn at the last degree of Capricorn, 29 degrees. So you have an initiatory full moon, and then you have a closure full moon. So it means over the course of the days between the solstice and around the 21st, 22nd of July, we are mastering something. We are leveling something up. And if Cancer represents your inner life, your truest nature, where you feel nurtured, safe, secure, at home in your own skin, comfortable, at ease, happy. Happy is really key in that energy. The opposite of it, Capricorn, is the external expression of that energy. How are you seen or perceived from afar? It also reaches towards our destiny, our reputation, the legacy we are leaving. So what are you getting clear around internally, and how are you beginning to take action to express it externally? These 30 days between the 20th, 30-ish days between the 20th of June and the 21st, 22nd of July, there is this element of getting very clear internally with your own inner compass. And because, again, all 4 cardinal signs are very activated in this solstice and in this energy, north, south, east, west, Aries, Libra, Cancer, Capricorn. It's almost like the wheel of consciousness is shifting a little bit. These next 30 days are highly valuable and potent. And they require stillness, retuning the radio station again and again until the dial is clear. Okay, I feel still. Okay, I don't know what my larger aim is, or my meaning, or my purpose, but I am safe. Or I know what would bring me happiness right now, just to relax and read a fiction book. Or to snuggle up on the couch with my dogs. Or to go swimming and hang out with my kids. To finish up work and then be able to go run errands and get a manicure and a pedicure. The little things that create elements of stillness and beautiful truth, where you feel safe, secure in your own skin. Doing that repetitively will help you in the external expression of your destiny. And I think that these 30 days that I'm referring to, especially because we will have both Saturn and Neptune move in their retrograde phase for the next handful of months, sandwiched in the middle of this energy, It's highly psychospiritual. It's very activating, but on the human experiential day-to-day level, it may feel very disruptive. Like you are coming to terms, you are making a decision that there is something you're grappling with internally that you have dragged your feet on. And with Capricorn and the full moon in Capricorn that happens right after this solstice, and it's at 8:08 p.m. Central Time on the 21st. So do the math in your time zones. And of course, I noticed that numerology because I'm in Central Standard Time, 8:08. The 8, the 0, the 8. It's a pretty powerful code. But if it's 9:08 for you or 7:08 p.m. for you, it doesn't matter. There's a code there too, by the way. There's codes in everything. I just happened to notice. But it will be 30 days-ish of really reevaluating what is limiting my destiny, how I am limiting the expansiveness of my destiny, the expansiveness of my evolving meaning. I know I sound very esoteric in that, but I would certainly figure out where Capricorn and this full moon and the next one fall in your astrological chart, in your natal chart, because it will show you what you are fine-tuning. It'll drill it down for you. It'll clarify some things in your life and your psychology. But it is a very poignant time, the 20th and the 21st, definitely to get still, to set some intentions. And I would use the 20th for really listening to yourself and your soul. What's coming through? I think good journaling, where you sit down to journal and at first you don't have anything to say or you don't know what you're going to say. And the next thing you know, just stuff is spewing out of your pen and your hand is hurting so badly you can't stop writing. I love it when that happens. Spend some time journaling. I would also, and we'll link this in the show notes, but because of the Cancer and the water element being so highly activated, I would definitely do some Epsom salt clearing. And I have a whole little podcast on using Epsom salt to clear and cleanse your energy. I would do that in these days around the solstice and the full moon. I would also create some kind of ritual, get still, light a candle, take a bath, turn on some meditation music, find something to create sacred space for yourself and sacred stillness. Even if it's uncomfortable, even if you can't get your mind to shut off. It's not about any kind of perfection or rigid way of doing meditation or ritual or ceremony correctly. You make your own magic. Your energy, your consciousness is what activates your sacredness. And be practical about it. What works for you? If you have a busy day and you're in the middle of work, so what? Do it when you get home at night or get up a little early in the morning. Just do something. I would encourage you to, because there is something quite miraculous in the energy field that is accessible to us from a psychic and cohesive collective standpoint, but your dial has to be fine-tuned. So find your stillness and spend a little bit of solitary time where you're in communion with yourself and your thoughts and your heaviness or your joy, whatever it is that you're feeling. Because I can certainly feel this massive wave of escapism coming through for me, where I'm showing up, I'm taking practical action, my heart is in things, I'm clear on what I need to do or what's coming up for me or what's on my agenda, but deep down below that, what I was saying is something is being activated within each of us that is unresolved. And I'm very familiar with the unresolved energies within me. And what it's doing is it's fine-tuning our energetic economy, the quality of our energy, which affects our thoughts, our emotions, our physical body, health and well-being, and then, of course, our energetic or spiritual connection. So really pay attention in those areas.
Are you tired of your scented cleaning products smelling and cleaning like meh? Then it's time for an upgrade with the power of Clorox Scentiva. With an uplifting scent that smells like coconut, Clorox Scentiva gives you powerful clean like Clorox, but a feeling like being transported to a tropical island retreat. Imagine putting your phone on Do Not Disturb, tuning out all the constant, just the feeling of warm sand in between your toes and a fruity drink in your hand. The ones with the little umbrella. Refresh your home to feel like an all-inclusive vacation by getting Clorox Scentiva. Also available in grapefruit and lavender scents at a nearby retail store.
With AT&T in-car Wi-Fi, stay connected wherever you go and transform your vehicle into a dependable Wi-Fi hotspot. Powering applications like real-time GPS and voice assistant, navigation becomes a breeze. Even on the practice field, AT&T in-car Wi-Fi keeps you connected while in proximity of your vehicle. Work, stream shows, or finish homework without missing a beat. See if you're eligible for a free trial at att.com/in-car Wi-Fi. Don't let connectivity be a roadblock in your journey. Always pay careful attention to the road and don't drive distracted. Wi-Fi hotspot intended for passenger use when vehicle is in operation. Compatible device and vehicle required.
You're probably careful with your personal information, but what about the other places that have it? Like the doctor's office that mixed up your files. They have your social security number. The power company that mistakenly cut your service has your payment info and last 3 addresses. And the hotel that lost your reservation has your passport info. Your information is in endless places out of your control. Any one of them could accidentally expose you to hackers and identity theft through lax security, breaches, or simple mistakes. But LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second and alerts you to a wide range of threats. If your identity is stolen, a U.S.-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back, with plans covering up to $3 million for stolen funds and expenses. Mistakes happen. Don't let not having protection be one of them. Save up to 40% your first year at LifeLock.com/iHeart. That's LifeLock.com/iHeart to save up to 40%. Terms apply.
With Saturn and Neptune retrograding, so like between the 28th through like the 3rd or the 4th of July, it's dreamy, etheric, weird. Things may not feel like they stick. You really may feel like your wisdom or your clarity is totally evading you. Surrender. I think what this is teaching us, and I think I've come to a truce with this, is that right now surrender seems to be coming up over and over again. So it means take healthy action, show up, be accountable, but really surrender the results to God, the universe, my soul, the divine. And this came up not too long ago with my spiritual guide and mentor. And of course, I had to like spew all of this out and tell her what was going on. And she's always laughing at me because she's like, yep, I guess you didn't need me to talk you through it because you knew what was going on. It was like, but just having her on the other end of the phone, I'm able to just say all the things in my head that have been rattling around, and I need to get them out in that safe space. And then she reflects back so much wisdom. But I said, it's like I've been getting up and really giving my will to God, the divine, the universe, to my soul, and then I take it back really quickly. And when I take it back and I'm in my will, my self-will, that's when I'm playing small, not infinite at all. And I feel like I'm asking for my soul and God to direct the show, but I'm like, okay, what do I need to get done today? Like I know that dialogue and that dance. And I said, this is what I asked her. I said, so this is my question that I've been asking myself. Do I really believe the universe is in charge? Do I really surrender my will, my life to the universe and follow the clues, take action, do my part, but really surrender it? And of course, I've done this. I know how to do it. I know what it feels like. I've watched the results unfold that are just more miraculous than I can humanly imagine every time I do. But there's this weird push-pull now that it's like, but the universe is playing all these tricks. The universe is confused itself. That's what the kind of the ding, ding, ding moment was consciousness feels like it's splitting and shifting, like almost like Earth is splitting. We're moving into 2 different phases of consciousness. So can I really give all of my will and my life over to something that feels like it's two-faced or feels like it's splitting or doesn't know what it's doing? And so it's not like I was logically thinking those things, but that's what the, not argument, but the internal strife or struggle feels like is, wait a minute, I need to hold it all together because the universe is shifting and consciousness is raising and we have all these massive, massive metamorphic changes going on, and they are. And it is wildly exciting, and also it's a conundrum. So learning to surrender. I feel like I've been in a relearning of surrender, and it feels much more fine-tuned. That's why I'm saying fine-tune your dial. And what I was referring to around telepathy, and telepathy being this new frontier of really heightened extrasensory abilities. I remember it was like 2015. I had gotten home from work one day. I was still in healthcare. And I remember I had been driving all day. I was exhausted. And it was like, I don't know, 4:30 or 5. And I was really tired. And I'm not a nap taker. I'm not great at naps. When I wake up, I'm a little grumpy. And then I just can't get my mojo back. So I'm just not a big nap taker. But anyway, I remember telling my husband, Dennis, I was like, I'm going to go upstairs and I'm just going to lie down for a few minutes. I'm exhausted. And I like kept wrestling. I was like, I'm so tired. I just want to fall asleep for like 20 minutes, just revitalize me. You know, it was like I was wrestling to try to fall asleep. We all know what that feels like, but I needed it. And I had 30 minutes to do that. So anyway, somehow, way, shape, or form, at some point, my body just quit fighting. It ceased fighting itself, and my mind did. And I relaxed, and then I like zoned off into deep, deep trance sleep. And I found myself catapulted like through time and space and dimensions onto the spacecraft. I mean, here I am fighting with just trying to take a nap in the afternoon. I'm not trying to meditate or, access parts of my consciousness. I just wanted a darn nap. I was exhausted, like I couldn't see straight. But it was like my body was telling me something is thin right now, something is available to you, but I didn't recognize any of that. So anyway, I fall asleep, go into this deep trance state, and I am on the spaceship. This massive spaceship. It was like the size of a cruise ship, right? I mean, it was just huge. And I'm in the cockpit or whatever. I remember like I was standing there, and it was me. It was Amanda. It's like I could see my hands and feet and smell and taste, and it was very visceral. And I am standing next to this being that is probably 13, 15 feet tall, and blue and lean and glimmering, and had these kind of gorgeous yellow eyes. And the being turned and faced me directly, even though the being was looking down at me. And it was almost like, even though the being was so much taller, we were both eye level. All of a sudden, there was that noticeable shift in this giant next to me, this giant, etheric, futuristic. It looked like a blue avian, and I had no idea about blue avians back then, but that would be the features. So there was something a little bit Pleiadian, a little bit Arcturian to this being. But anyway, so it was like all of a sudden we were both eye level. And I remember we looked at each other eye to eye, and there was this telepathic exchange of information that just downloaded every bit of cellular memory from them to me to them. And it was like, we are one. I am you, you are me. I'm a version of you from this timeline, from the future. These are the things that I'm doing. Here you are. What you're doing is significant. You are important. And then there was like the most expansive love, infinite love. And the telepathy was so strong. There were no words, and it all happened in what felt infinite, but like 10 seconds. You know, when time stands still and it's infinite, yet it's just very finite simultaneously. I mean, it was transcendent, it was mystical. But I mean, I remember I woke up right after that, and there were just tears running down my face, because there was this element of, I am sovereign, I am infinite, what I am here for is important. I know, and I know other things are going on in timelines. I mean, there was a complete download of information. And I remember waking up and looking around the room and being like, gosh, have I been out for hours and hours? And the sun was still out, in the evening. And I ran down the stairs and I said, Dennis, I was just on this spaceship. And I'm like, I just met myself in the future, and I'm running this spacecraft and the world and the universe, and I'm going on and on about what is happening. And I remember him just saying, wow, it sounds like a really good nap. He doesn't know how to hold space for me, but he also does not make fun of me or say, yeah, good one, Amanda. He never shuts anything down. And, it's funny, my mother never did that either with me. And it's something I really appreciate in people. And it wasn't condescending either. He was like, oh, well, it sounds like you had a really good nap. And I was like, I just saw this version of myself. And I'm sharing this with you all because I think that the energy in these 30 days that I'm talking about has a high capacity for that kind of quantum, multidimensional breakthrough in checking in with other aspects of yourself, your soul, your consciousness. You're fine-tuning your antenna to be able to transmit and receive telepathically from other dimensions, other versions of yourself, other parallel forms of reality, past lives, future lives, however you want to look at it, or if it's just fine-tuning your messages from God and your higher power, whatever it is. Find your stillness, and you don't hang on to it so tight, like, okay, I've got to go into a trance setting right now. You're just like, let me just take a nap. Or let me just say tonight, as I fall asleep, I will remember my dreams. Help me remember my dreams and what I am learning or what I am healing. Just be very intentional. So use these next days. And the numerology of the 5, remember, is about dynamic shifts and changes. See where you can be bold and courageous in investing in yourself, investing in your sovereignty, investing in your own stillness so you can get very, very clear in your internal nature in order to be able to externally express that. Because come July 31st, when we do have that second full moon in Capricorn, you will be fine-tuning an outward expression of you. You will have shifted your destiny if you actually follow some of this energy. I think there's destiny shifts, wheel of fortune, wheel of fate kind of energy at play right now. And it takes discipline, spiritual dedication and discipline. Freaking turn the knob from hot to cold. Don't hesitate. Brush your teeth with the opposite hand and neural pattern. Get out of the bed on the other side of the bed. Shave the opposite leg first. Drive with the non-dominant hand. Take a different route to the grocery store. Anything that will help you repattern some unconscious patterning and help activate higher levels of consciousness, brain function, and awareness is all opening up and fine-tuning your radio dial. So just know that this is highly activating time. And it's like we're crossing some threshold in the next handful of days. And I feel it. I can't exactly grab the clarity, but something is changing and we cannot go back. So whatever is unresolved within you, see if you can get clear on that and have the courage to get honest about it, and then see what action you can take to create some momentum and some change in your life for your personal happiness, sovereignty, and freedom, your own well-being. And remember that you're worth it. So hang in there amongst the clouds and the delusion. And I'll close by just saying the summertime is so funny because it has summertime vibes. And many of us, who maybe don't have kids or are just working through the summer, we're not teachers. When teachers, y'all deserve your summertime vibes for sure, your time off. But it's like it can feel like, okay, it's hot outside or the weather is really erratic and I've got work to do. Find your downtime. Find your downtime in the next month. Like if you don't feel like doing something, really listen to that voice. I think it's very important. I'm super excited about the Conscious Collective. We've got a handful of people signed up and it's a very intentional community. If you are interested in that, the link is below. It's a 6-month program that kicks off July 1st. And this is very intentional because, first of all, I knew the energy would shift. And I think having a conscious group of like-minded seekers who are really ready to create consistency and go deep. I've been assigning pre-work and diving into everybody's personal astrology and numerology so they have a good foundation and blueprint, which will be using those codes and those energies. And everyone who is participating is highly invested in themselves, willing to take the initiatory leap of faith. And the crew that is assembling, I'm just excited to work with these human beings, but I know that it is going to unfold in really impacting ways for each of us personally, our group collectively, and I know no matter what, it's going to beam out into the collective. So if you are interested in that, it kicks off July 1st, so I've got a handful of spots left, and I'm being very intentional. There's an application and an intake form, so not everybody that applies really is a good fit at this time. It doesn't mean that you won't be, but if this is something that you want to invest in yourself in and you really want to work at it, the next 6 months and really level up your consciousness and build tribe and community and see some results, then definitely check it out. Reach out, soulpathology.com. We can answer any questions, but you'll want to jump in pretty quick because, like I said, I'm already giving homework and pre-work, and it's starting to evolve even, more beautifully than I even could see it evolving. So I'm ready for July 1st and ready for this crew. One more note that I want to say is the numerology guidebook. A lot of you have that, the 2024 numerology guidebook. I did an audio companion, and I ran it through the audio companion through July. So I did that for a reason. If you hear me in the voice memo or in the wording, I said I'm doing this through July because I feel like there's going to be a really drastic shift in the energy field June and July, and I'm going to need to be closer into it. So I will get the second half of the year recorded, the audio companion. And if you don't have the numerology guidebook, or you're like, it's midpoint in the year, why would I get a 2024 guidebook? Oh my gosh, it's so useful to go back retrospectively and then guide you through and give you some of the codes and the energies that will really help you navigate it. So it's such a good tool. And in July, we will release the audio companion for the second half of the year. So I'll make more announcements about that, but be on the lookout because it is coming. Lots of good things, lots of resources. I want to just encourage everyone to tap into your internal nature and then openly find new ways of expressing yourself externally in these next 30 days. Fine-tune your radio frequency, because the clearer you get, the brighter you will shine. Be well, everyone.
Thinking of popping the question? Diamonds Direct has an offer you can't miss. This month only, buy a natural diamond engagement ring of 1 carat plus and receive a free natural 1 carat diamond tennis bracelet valued at $2,000. Imagine giving her the ring of her dreams and her wedding gift all at once. No one provides education, selection, and value like Diamonds Direct. Your chance to get a free tennis bracelet from your friends at Diamonds Direct won't last long. Details at diamondsdirect.com.
There's no distance too far for the perfect trip.
Hi, checking in for...
Or the perfect table.
Hey, where are you?
Coming! And when you get access to Resi Priority Notify with your Amex Platinum card...
Hey, this looks amazing. I'm so glad you made it.
And travel benefits at fine hotels and resorts booked through Amex Travel, it's worth the trip. That's the powerful backing of American Express. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/withAmex.
For 25 years, Brightview Senior Living has been dedicated to creating an award-winning company culture, so residents and families receive best-in-class services. Across our 50 communities, Brightview associates help deliver peace of mind, safety, security, transportation, daily programs, delicious food, and high-quality care if needed. Discover how our vibrant senior living communities can help you live your best life. Visit brightviewseniorliving.com to learn more. Equal housing opportunity.